Like, share, and subscribe to my channel as I continue to provide you with trusted information for you to use to make decisions. Today, I want to deal with the older I get. Now, let me start with this preface by saying there is no blueprint to life. And because there's no blueprint to life, you're going to make a number of errors, number of mistakes you're going to make. And some of those errors, when you look back in retrospect to those, you say to yourself, but where I am now, I should not have made those errors. And why is that so? Because the older you get with more experiences, the more you recognize what life is about. In other words, I'm saying to you, there's no blueprint to life. And because there's no blueprint to life, you're going to have to live it in order to understand it. Wow, what a powerful statement. Let me say that. Because there's no blueprint to life, you're going to have to live it to understand it, which is a fundamental part of why we ought to allow children to make errors, and when they make errors, not to forgive them, but to point them in a direction of change and better. Each day, we ought to ascertain more experiences from the culture that you are living in that will guide a better you. It is that better you that is framed and fashioned with time, which is why I say the older I get. The older I get is the more you understand that a number of things that you dreamed for should not have been in your focus in the first place. The older I get is the more I recognize that some of the frivols in life to compare myself with others, there was no need for it in the first place. The older I get is the more I understand that life is as simple as just live it. No, that may go over your head, but let me rephrase it and repeat it. The older you get is the more you understand that some of the things that you desire, there was no need to desire them in the first place. Because all you should have done was just to live life. It's a part of the reason why a number of persons, when they become old or get older, hate the young. And when I say the young, I mean the younger people. Because they realize that if they had their lives to live over, to repeat, to redo, a second opportunity, they would live it in a different way. And the young people are not doing good with what they have. But what the older people do not understand, the older you get is the more you see, because there's no blueprint to life. And because there's no blueprint to life, you're going to make a tumultuous number of errors. You're going to make so many errors that it cannot be counted. It's just like the sand of the seashore or like the wind. Blows in, blows out, but nobody knows from where it came or where it returns. Now, the older you get, the more you need to understand that why am I bothered by fear? Why am I bothered by worry? Death is one of those things that you fear. And the older you get, is the more you realize that it's certain more than even living itself. So why do I bother myself by fear? The older you get, the more you recognize that education is a myth. And that myth that you have attained is worth as much as you invest in it. The older you get, is the more you understand that all you had to do was just to sit back and allow life to unfold. The older you get, is the more you recognize that to excel beyond the skies is going beyond where you should be, and that all you should have been is living on this earth. The older you get is the more you recognize and the more you understand that living was as simple as living. Wow, yes. Living was as simple as living. The older you get is the more you recognize that a number of you are not living. And the older you get is the more you realize that you spend a number of your years trying to live for a future when the future was actually the present. The older you get is the more you realize that the future is really now and that you were not living the future. You were living in a myth called a future when the future was actually here. The older you get is the more you realize that the future will never come, and And the more you live is the more you recognize that the future was always right here with you and that you are not living it. The older you get is the more you realize that all the challenges that you face in life was just for a blueprint for you to live, and that you messed up by not living. The older you get, you appreciate the day that you see in the flesh, because the day that you think about as a future is always here. It was never tomorrow. The future is always here. All you need to do is live it. The older you get is the more you understand that. Yeah. That life was as simple as living it. Are you living? Are you living the future today? Because today was yesterday's future. But are you living today's future? Or are you waiting for tomorrow's future that came and is today? Sounds complex. Think. Think on these things. Live life today. Live it. Why are you bothered by things? Why worry about the light bill, the water rate, the rent, the children going bad? Jamaica having a crime problem, the world is getting messed up, God is coming. Why are you worried about that when you are not living? The time you spend to worry about that is a time that should have been well spent living. Do you see it? All you had to do was to live today, because today is yesterday and tomorrow. All in today. What do you have to say? Do you think about it? Yes, are you living? Are you living?